Hello and welcome to the Armenian News Network, Groong Week in Review. This show was recorded on November 1, 2022. I'm Asbed Bedrossian, and I'm here with Hovik Manucharyan. Before we begin the show, we'd like to request that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe and rate our podcasts, which you can listen to wherever you get your podcasts. Our Groong links are on our Linktree page. Click on that, and you can find us everywhere on social media platforms. Thanks. And on with the show. Here are the major topics we'll touch on today. So 2 days ago, on Sunday, there was a massive rally in Stepanakert affirming its resolve to maintain its sovereignty and independence. We'll talk about that. Then we'll turn to a month ago when Armin Grigoryan and Hikmet Hacıyev met at the White House. Some agreements were achieved. What were those? Then, this past week, Armenia convened the CSTO Security Council to demand support from its allies. What was achieved there? On Monday, and that's yesterday, Pashinyan, Putin, and Aliyev met in Moscow, and a statement was agreed upon. We'll discuss that statement. And immediately following the summit in Moscow, on Tuesday, Pashinyan met with Iran's President Raisi in Tehran. Now that was short notice. To talk about these issues, we have with us Benyamin Poghosyan, who is the chairman of the Yerevan-based think tank Center for Political and Economic Strategic Studies. Hello, Benyamin. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Benyamin.
Hello, Asbed. Hello, Hovik. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Welcome. So on Sunday, in the lead up to the October 31st meeting in Sochi, and while Artsakh President Arayik Harutyunyan was also in Moscow, there was probably the largest demonstration rally in Stepanakert since the independence movement began in 1988. An estimated 40,000 Artsakh citizens flooded the main city square to demand that Artsakh's independence and sovereignty not be compromised through any deals that the government of Armenia signs with Azerbaijan. Artsakh's parliament also convened on Sunday and adopted a declaration that affirms its independence and rejects Armenia's ruling party civil contracts policy to deprioritize Artsakh's independence. Essentially, this is a rejection of the lower the bar paradigm that Pashinyan's been pushing since last April due to pressure from the so-called quote-unquote international community. So I wanted to ask, Hovik, I think you went to the rally in Stepanakert. What was the experience there?
Yes, it was a very impromptu decision, but early Sunday morning, I decided to go, and I was very happy that I did. Emotionally, it's one of the few ways you can get positive sort of emotional feedback during these times. But I think, if I could characterize the protest rally in Stepanakert, it was just basically a show of force and just that sheer number of people. And by the way, 40,000, I think, is a low estimate. There are some estimates that range up to 60, 70. And based on the experts that I've talked to, I think that definitely 40,000 is a floor.
The images looked very impressive. Yeah.
But basically, you know how Aliyev always says that there's 25,000 Armenians in Stepanakert. Well, that image itself just basically disproved his propaganda. I'm not sure what, there weren't that many calls to sort of take action to, demand anything politically other than the only demand, which is basically Artsakh's right for self-determination cannot be deprioritized through any signature. And there was a warning basically to Pashinyan and to any other party involved that shouldn't be done. Yeah, basically a show of force and a good, I think, collective sort of emotional sort of, I think it was, everyone was very emotional, whoever I could look, so it was a very positive thing.
Excellent. Benjamin, do you have any thoughts on this rally?
I believe that the key task or the key message of rally was even not sent to Yerevan, because frankly speaking, I don't believe that Armenian government is going to hear anything coming from Stepanakert. And I don't believe that people sitting in Stepanakert hopes that their message will have some influence on the Armenian government. I believe the real target audience of this rally, of this demonstration, was the outside world, and especially the Western world, and more precisely maybe the United States or United States government, because we all know that the West, and in particular in recent months the United States, is pushing forward this idea that the peace agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan should be signed as quickly as possible. Even some deadlines are being circulated, like no later than December 31, 2022. And also, we all know that according to this Western paradigm, if Armenia and Azerbaijan signs peace agreement, this peace agreement should fix, at least in the general framework, that Karabakh should be part of Azerbaijan, while details how the rights and security of Armenians holding Azerbaijani passports are going to be protected, these are details which will be discussed further. So the main message was that, okay, people living in Nagorno-Karabakh will never accept to be a part of Azerbaijan. They are not going to take Azerbaijani passports. And if anyone urges for such a solution, it simply opens the way for ethnic cleansing and genocide. And I believe this is a powerful message because we all know that the United States, the European Union, or individual Western countries, they present themselves as supporters and defenders of human rights, democracy, and etc., etc. So the message was very clear. Okay, guys, you are pushing forward the solution, which definitely, with a probability of 100%, will result either of soft or hard ethnic cleansing or even genocide. So this is unacceptable, first. And second, even, and this, I believe this was another important message, that even if the United States is able to convince or force Armenian government to sign peace agreement with Azerbaijan, with no mention about Nagorno-Karabakh, which automatically will allow Azerbaijan to say that, okay, Nagorno-Karabakh issue is over. People in Nagorno-Karabakh are telling that, okay, guys, Armenian government has no such right to sign such an agreement. And even if Armenian government signs this agreement, it will have no real meaning for people living in Nagorno-Karabakh. So actually, it will not change anything on the ground. I believe the message was this, and let's not forget that the rally was organized 24 hours before Trilateral meeting in Sochi between Prime Minister of Armenia, President of Azerbaijan, and President of Russia. And after 3 days after this famous question and answer in Valdai discussion club, when director of Caucasus Institute in Yerevan, Alexander Iskandaryan, asked a question to Russian president about recent development in Armenia-Azerbaijan relations, and the president of Russia gave clear answers that yes, there is a Washington version, or let's say even not a document, because there are some speculations that, okay, there are no clear document. Okay, maybe there is a no clear defined document, but there is a perception or there is ideas in Washington, or at least in the administration, in National Security Council, which, by the way, organized the Armenian Grigoryan Hikmet meeting, which took place on September 27.
Yes.
That Armenia and Azerbaijan should sign peace agreement, that there is a clear deadline, that peace agreement should be signed until end of 2022, that border delimitation should be finished until end of 2022. So when President Putin spoke about all this, and he said that, okay, if Armenian government, and more important, he said if people of Armenia thinks that declaring Karabakh as part of Azerbaijan is okay for the people of Armenia, then it's okay also for Russia. And my perception was this, that President Putin said that, okay, President of Russia, Russian government, or even Russians as a people, they cannot be more pro-Armenian than Armenian people itself. So if it's okay for people of Armenia, and of course, the people living in Nagorno-Karabakh are part of people of Armenia, if for them it's okay to be part of Azerbaijan, then no one can prevent this protest. And by organizing this huge rally, Karabakh Armenians simply showed that, okay, at least in Nagorno-Karabakh, no one believes that Karabakh is Azerbaijan.
Right. In order to set the scene, and there are many things happened this week, including a statement signed in Sochi. So let's move towards that. But before that, let's set the scene with the CSTO Security Council, because I think it's related to Armenia's relationship with its strategic ally, Russia, and it will be an important backdrop for everything else. On Friday, the CSTO Security Council met to consider measures to support Armenia in its conflict with Azerbaijan. And to support, I guess, some people would use quotes around those words. The emergency meeting was initiated by Pashinyan. We know that what led up to it, basically, Lavrov said that, hey, you guys aren't, holding a meeting. If you do, then we'll respond. So reportedly, Pashinyan had two demands from the CSTO, which he raised publicly. For CSTO member states to make a clear assessment of Azerbaijan's aggression against Armenia. So he wanted condemnation. and to propose a roadmap to assist Armenia to regain its territorial integrity. Neither of these demands were obviously met, and it became clear that individual CSTO member states have valuable bilateral ties with Azerbaijan, which they did not wish to harm. Uniquely outspoken was Belarus President Lukashenko, who said that Azerbaijan was headed by absolutely our man Ilham Aliyev, our bro, and that huge ties with Azerbaijan could not be ignored. Benjamin, maybe there's always a need to get people on the record, but the meeting clarified that the CSTO is not ready to help Armenia against Azerbaijan. Some, and many on our podcast have said that it was a non-starter. But in your opinion, has this been a diplomatic failure for Armenia? Was the move to call this emergency CSTO Security Council meeting wrong? And just general sort of Armenia's treatment of CSTO as a security guarantor?
Okay, it's a really complicated and multi-layered issue because...
And we have a lot of things to cover, so let's try to go.
Yes, I will try to be as brief as possible, but first, when we speak about Armenia CSTO, we should understand it's all about Armenia, Russia.
Right.
Second, yes, many CSTO countries have better relations with Azerbaijan than with Armenia for different reasons. Some based on Turkic brotherhood, like Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, some on economic benefits or some good relations between leaders, like Lukashenko and Ilham Aliyev. From another point of view, many people in CSTOs, they say that, okay, there is a trilateral format, Russia, Armenia, Azerbaijan. And Russia is a leading country of the CSTO. So if Russia is already dealing with this, what other CSTO members can do, or why they should do anything? If Russia is there, and also Russia has its bilateral security arrangements with Armenia. From another point of view, the Armenian government tells the society, okay, because CSTO is doing nothing, we have to ask some support from European Union to invite observers or to invite this fact-finding mission from OFE, the one-week mission. But because there is also the ongoing war between Russia and West, Russia and United States, and even Russia and European Union, it's become more complicated. So in general, yes, from one point of view, we may say that, of course, Armenia is right. If CSTO is not going to help Armenia, why we need CSTO? But from another point of view, I believe there is a feeling in CSTOs that by applying both to CSTO, to the European Union, to the United Nations, Armenia just wants somehow to create more complications for the CSTO, to create complications between CSTO and Azerbaijan, while we know that even for Russia, Azerbaijan is an important country, but also Russia is concerned and is totally unhappy what is Azerbaijan doing. So it's a very delicate situation, but one thing is clear, and I believe I wrote it also in my last paper, that, for example, while we inviting EU observer mission into Armenia, you can describe this one way of description. You can say that, okay, I invited European Union mission because I am totally disappointed with Russia, or even I don't like autocratic Russia. I would like to be part of this democracy vs autocracy battle and some other stuff. This is a one narrative, and that is why I called European Union observers, because the EU is much better than Russia. And if you are pushing forward this narrative, definitely no one will in CSTO will be happy, telling that, okay, you are calling Russian enemies into the zone of Russian influence, and then you are telling, okay, CSTO should do something for me. But if you are telling that, okay, guys, Azerbaijan is threatening with a new attack against Armenians, this is fact. Azerbaijan doing it publicly, telling that there is Armenia signs peace agreement which satisfies all my demands, or I will launch another war against Armenia. And in this case, of course, any government, including the government of Armenia, should do everything to decrease, even slightly, to decrease the possibility or probability of Azerbaijani attack. And we all understand that these 40 unarmed European observers, they decrease the probability of Azerbaijani attack very, very slightly. Let's say maybe up to 1%. But in current situation, even 1% is good for Armenia. So my understanding is that Armenia should not message that, okay, I called European Union observers because I believe Russia is bad, or I'm disappointed on Russia, or because European Union is good, because the European Union, there is a democracy in European Union, but there is an autocracy in Belarus and Russia and all this stuff, simply to mix everything up. But the message should be that, okay, guys, I'm ready to accept any observers, anyone whose presence, even very slightly, will decrease the Azerbaijani attack, because Azerbaijan threatens to attack against Armenians. This is a duty of Armenian government to prevent such attack, or at least to do everything to decrease the possibility of such attack. But in general, when we are speaking about CSTO, it's very complicated. Again, many countries are not happy with Armenia. Let's not forget that immediately after the Velvet Revolution, Armenia launched criminal investigation against incumbent Secretary General of CSTO. And this was a very huge blow to CSTO image. And if anyone thinks that people forget about that, they are too naive. But the key issue is this. By criticizing CSTO, we are simply pushing forward the Western narrative that Russia is not able to create alliances, that Russia-created alliances are not based on mutual respect, they are based on neo-imperialistic visions of Russia, etc., etc. So, frankly speaking, I'm not sure why Armenia should be interested to add more tension into Armenian-Russia relations by criticizing CSTO, which will not bring us anything good, but will harm relations with Russia. And again, I don't see any reason why we should be interested in making more tensions in Armenian-Russia relations, because already we have a lot of tensions.
Yeah. Benjamin, I actually wanted to ask you, do you think it was a political gaffe to convene the CSTO Security Council and actually corner everybody into saying they don't want to condemn Aliyev? Basically, Pashinyan showed himself to be completely isolated to the whole world.
Basically, Armen Grigoryan has many times in the past said this will be a test of the CSTO as an organization. But just to add to Asbed's question, we know what the outcome was. Everyone, even a sophomore student in international relations, could predict what the outcome of this meeting was going to be.
Exactly.
So why push it?
Yes, I'm not sure. Also, from another point of view, Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov itself said that, okay, why Armenia is not convening this CSTO mission and why Armenia invited European Union observers. So Armenia can say, okay, now I decided to organize this CSTO Security Council, trying to also involve CSTO observers. But at the end of the day, Armenian membership into CSTO is part of Armenian-Russia relations. So everything should be discussed with Russia, and it's better to discuss it not publicly, but privately. Because any public discussions...
on the issue of Armenian-Russia relations, among other things in this political sparring, which we mentioned a moment ago, is the banning of Russian officials from Armenia. For example, longtime Armenian supporter and first deputy chairman of the committee in State Duma, Konstantin Zatulin, was basically declared persona non grata. And also, I believe, the editor-in-chief of Russia Today, Margarita Simonyan. And Zatulin, just so for our listeners, he was one of the people responsible for Russia essentially recognizing the Armenian genocide back in the 1990s. And he's always been, on the official level, he's always been a proponent of Armenians. He even advocated for Nezhde to not be considered in the same light as sort of other individuals that Russia sort of, are viewed negatively in Russia during the World War II. So my question is, my follow-up basically is, in the same light, what are the messages that basically Armenia is trying to send, even including sort of the banning of Zatulin and Simonyan? I mean, what was the reason for that?
First of all, this is a very strange story because no one declares anyone persona non grata by sending an email from the email account of someone who works in the staff of the National Assembly of any country.
Right.
So we cannot even say that he was officially declared as a persona non grata because, again, there was a mail sent from the email address of the head of Foreign Relations Department of the office or the staff of the National Assembly to Zatulin's email account. So I don't believe that this is legally can be declared as a action to declare or recognize Zatulin persona non grata. Regarding Margarita Simonyan, even we don't see any document, even there are no email. Like Margarita Simonyan said on her Telegram channel, that I am banned. No one even confirmed or rejected this. So first, from legal point of view, this was fun even. Why this was done this way? Maybe to give the deniability to the leadership of Armenia, telling that, okay, but who says that we declared Constantin Zatunli persona non grata? How can some mid-level official working in the National Assembly office declare anyone a persona non grata?
The Russian Foreign Ministry actually requested a clarification of Zatulin's ban, but I haven't heard any kind of a response
we
to
know,
that.
there is no official response, or
Right.
there is no public official response. But regardless of this very strange way of doing this, I mean legal strange way, for me it's obvious this is a step to put additional tensions into Russia-Armenian relations.
Right.
Okay, why this was done, I'm not sure, but the target or intention is clear: to create more tensions in Armenia-Russia relations and simultaneously to give deniability to the top leadership. Because theoretically, look, for example, when a prime minister, during the government session, public session, he stated that, okay, Armenian allies didn't provide us weapons for which we have paid money. Okay, everybody understood that this was Russia. But then during his interview on public television, when he asked about this, prime minister said, okay, but I didn't use word Russia. Who said that? I said that Russia has not provided us weapons while we paid this. Okay, can you say that I used the word of Russia? I said Armenian allies, but Armenia has several allies except of Russia.
Armenia is trolling Russia.
Yes, so the same is for here, because again, you can ask foreign minister, but foreign minister can say, okay, but who said that Zatulin has been declared as a persona non grata? Can any declared by email? Probably no. But again, this was done to create additional tensions in Armenia-Russia relations, and this was done before this Sochi Trilateral summit. So it was not coincidence. But frankly speaking, I try to understand the reasons behind this. I mean, why the persons who did this thought that this could be useful for Armenia's national interest? I don't understand their logic. But again, this was done intentionally to create tensions or additional tensions in Russia-Armenian relations.
So the Sochi summit, which we'll come to, is definitely on our agenda. But before that, one more slight detour, the so-called Sullivan Plan. In light of basically the signing of that statement in Sochi, we also want to sort of help paint the backdrop of how Russia's competitors in the West think about the Artsakh conflict and how it should be solved. And you alluded to that earlier, with the question about Stepanakert. At the end of September, as you mentioned, Aliyev's foreign policy advisor Hikmet Hajiev and Armenian National Security Chair Armen Grigoryan went to DC. Some details of what was discussed and agreed were leaked on Telegram, but it was all unconfirmed, and we declined to put a lot of emphasis on that during our coverage last time. But in his speech at the latest Valdai Club meeting, Putin basically explicitly claimed that the US has brokered a deal that requires that Armenia recognize the sovereignty of Azerbaijan over Nagorno-Karabakh or Artsakh, apparently referring to this leaked document. And despite sort of Edmund Marukian's statement that there is no such thing as a Washington variant, Pashinyan himself admitted during his party's annual congress that there are Western and Russian interpretations. My question to begin this topic is: what is the so-called Sullivan Plan? What is the U.S. offering to the warring sides? I also remember there's this statement "time-bound" in there. What does that mean, in your opinion?
I mean, first of all, Secretary of Armenian Security Council confirmed the existence of, if not Washington plan or Washington version of peace agreement, but at least some agreements reached in Washington, because during his interview to public TV, I believe, Armen Grigoryan himself stated that, yes, we agreed in Washington to sign peace deal between Armenia and Azerbaijan until end of 2022. We agreed to finish delimitation between Armenia and Azerbaijan until end of 2022. And we agreed to launch some international mechanism for Baku-Stepanakert talks again until end of 2022. So the fact that there are American, if not document or draft of peace agreement, at least American ideas, this was confirmed by the person who directly participated in the meeting in White House. Hikmet Hajiev himself confirmed at least one thing, that yes, in Washington we agreed to sign a peace treaty between Armenia and Azerbaijan until end of 2022. Of course, Hajiev rejected two other claims of Armen Grigoryan. He said that there was no agreement to finish delimitation until end of 2022. And he said that Azerbaijan will never accept any international mechanism to speak with Karabakh Armenians Azerbaijani government will speak with its citizens without any international mechanism. So at least both Hikmet Hajiyev and Armen Grigoryan confirmed that they reached an agreement in Washington to sign peace treaty until the end of 2022. And conventional wisdom tells us if they reached an agreement to sign a peace deal, most probably they also reached agreement at least on the basics or principles of this peace deal.
Yes.
So we can say that yes, at least there is a American ideas on the principles of this future peace agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan.
And even if we discount the existence of that document, which the document basically mentions nothing about Artsakh, it says that, but even if, and says that Armenia has to accept Azerbaijani sovereignty over Artsakh, Sullivan has himself said that they have had some kind of a time-bound agreement. So that issue about time-bound, and I think that sort of refers to Aliyev's deadline of December 31st. But also, Pashinyan himself has said that the American interpretation or proposal doesn't specify a status of Artsakh in the final peace agreement, and that Armenia is for that. So even that aspect has been essentially admitted by Pashinyan by different parties. Is this correct? I mean, did I miss anything here?
No, because Pashinyan in parliament, I believe, answering the questions of MPs, he said that yes, Armenian government is interested to sign peace treaty with Azerbaijan until end of 2022. And he said that Armenian government will do its best or would do its best to sign peace agreement with Azerbaijan until end of 2022. So both Nikol Pashinyan and Armen Grigoryan confirmed that during the meeting in White House on September 27, mediated by Jake Sullivan, the idea came to have Armenia-Azerbaijan peace agreement until end of 2022. Armenia agreed on this, and the Armenian government will do everything within its powers to make this happen. So,
right.
And we may be surprised, okay, why Americans are in such a hurry? Because during this free trilateral or four-lateral summit in Brussels, which took place on April 6, May 22, and August 31, facilitated by Charles Michel, never European Union put any deadlines. And I can tell you that Europeans, the European Union himself are surprised. Where from this deadline come? And is it reasonable to put a deadline to sign a peace agreement on such a complicated and sensitive conflict? And putting deadline also is very dangerous, because if you are telling that, okay, peace agreement should be signed until end of 2022, and then there is a no peace agreement on January 1st, 2023, what does it mean? Does it mean that peace process is ruined? Peace process was failed? And does it mean that if there is a no peace agreement on January 1st, 2023, then one of the sides may start war, telling that, okay, our agreements were failed?
But Benjamin, you mentioned that the EU didn't put any deadlines, but when returning from Prague, obviously Aliyev said, I'm going to put a deadline at the end of this year, but also the EU agreed to send monitors exactly timed for 2 months. Basically, the deadline for the monitors to come back is December 31st.
Isn't that like another way? Frankly speaking, my understanding of why EU sent these monitors for 2 months, not because there is some agreement between EU and Azerbaijan that, okay, let's send these monitors until end of 2022 to say Armenia, okay, if you are not going to sign peace treaty until end of 2022, then these monitors will leave and Azerbaijan would attack. This cannot be true, because Azerbaijan may attack every time, and as I mentioned, the presence of European observers decreased very, very slightly the probability of Azerbaijani attack. So this is not the case that we are 100% secure while EU observers are here, and if they are leaving on December 31, it means a green light for Azerbaijan to attack. As far as I understand, we all know that the European Union is a very bureaucratic organization. So if you want to deploy an internal observer or monitoring mission very quickly, you cannot say that, okay, I'm going to deploy the mission for 1 year, because in that case, it will take at least 2, 3, 4 months for all 27 members of the European Union to agree. So as far as I understand, the decision to deploy mission for a short period of time, initial short period of time, was done to somehow overcome these bureaucratic complications and be able to have a very quick decision. But as far as I know, many European countries, even during the debates, they say that, okay, obviously the reasons why we are sending these EU monitors will not disappear in late December 2022. So no one can exclude then And if Armenia asks, then EU may extend the timing or terms of deployment of European observers. So in this case, I don't believe that EU sent these observers until end of 2022 to hint Armenia that if you're not going to sign peace agreement until end of 2022, my observers will leave on December 31 and Ali would take on January 1st, 2023. Because again, every moment Azerbaijan may attack, and the presence of these 40 unarmed civilian European observers decrease the probability of Azerbaijan attack maximum by 1%.
Right.
And nothing more.
Now, as we know, both CSTO is having an indigestion about these monitors, and so is Iran, which basically has put forth many statements which people interpret as being against this sort of outsider intervention. But so what would you say to people who say that it's clever for Pashinyan to both sort of involve the US and involve the Western side, and also put pressure on CSTO and Russia, basically guilt tripping Russia, I would say, so, do you think that it's clever to put the West against Russia in such a way in order to maximize Armenia's benefit, or basically help Armenia get sort of the best outcome it can under these circumstances, which is also probably like very bad. But what do you think about this strategy of pitting the West against Russia?
Okay, first of all, I believe West and Russia are really at war without Armenia's involvement. Armenia can do little to make this war even more worse than it is. Then I believe Armenia should do everything not to be involved, or at least not to make steps to be involved, or to involve Nagorno-Karabakh conflict or Armenia-Azerbaijan relations, to involve into this Russia-West war, because in that case you have to make clear choices, and in that case it will be very, frankly speaking, very strange. First, if Armenia chooses West, it means that Armenia should fight not only with Azerbaijan and Turkey, but with Russia and Iran, because the West, and especially the United States, is also fighting against Iran now. And I believe this is too much for a compact country like Armenia to fight Azerbaijan, Turkey, Russia, Iran. And if, frankly speaking, out of any reason. So no, I believe that Armenia should do everything. At least it should not take steps to make Armenia as a part of, or Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict, Nagorno-Karabakh conflict as a part of Russia-West confrontation. Maybe this is inevitable, but at least the Armenian government should not make steps which will bring this reality closer. And as I mentioned, Armenia should send very clear message to everyone: Iran, Russia, United States, European Union, India, China, I don't know anyone, that look, guys, the deployment of European Union observers in Armenia has nothing to do with Ukraine war, Russia-US war, Russia-Europe war, Iran-US rivalry. It has to do only with one basic thing. Azerbaijan threatens to launch large-scale war against Armenia. We believe that EU observer mission will decrease the probability of this war by 1%, for example. And as a government, we are ready to do that. If the deployment of African Union monitors will decrease the probability of Azerbaijan attack by 0.5%, we are ready to apply to the African Union to deploy African Union monitors in Armenia. If the deployment of CSTO monitors will decrease the probability of Azerbaijan attack by 5%, we are more than happy to have monitors or observers from CSTO. Again, these have nothing to do with Russia-US war, Russia-West war, Russia-Europe war, US-Iran war, I don't know, Iran-Israel rivalry, Sunni-Shia rivalry, and all other things. This has to do with the basic thing. Armenian government should do everything to decrease the possibility of large-scale war against Armenia, which Azerbaijani government publicly threatens on daily basis.
Now, okay, let's. We had more questions about Valdai, but let's leave it at for some other time. Now we come to the Trilateral summit, which just happened in Sochi yesterday. Putin arranged a summit with Aliyev and Pashinyan in Sochi, which happened yesterday, October 31st. Prior to the Trilateral summit, Putin met with Pashinyan and Aliyev in bilateral format, and after the summit, a statement was published. By Putin's own admission, not all issues were agreed upon, Benjamin. What do you think about the outstanding issues, and what do you think about the statement in general?
Okay, I believe the key task for Russia when it organized its Trilateral summit was not to sign something, but to prevent the signature of something in the future facilitated by the United States or by the EU, but most probably by the United States. Because Russia understands very well, all understand very well, why United States is interested to push forward the signature of peace agreement as soon as possible. Because if there is a peace agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan, regardless, there is a border on Nagorno-Karabakh, there are no borders on Nagorno-Karabakh, peace agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan means that conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan is over. If conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan is over, then no need for Russian peacekeepers to be in Nagorno-Karabakh, at least after November 2025, after the initial term will expire, according to November 2020 statement. And also all understand that if Russian peacekeepers leave Nagorno-Karabakh, it will only the first step. Next step will be United States efforts to kick out Russian military base from Gyumri, to kick out Russian border troops from Armenia. And this is a part of US grand strategy to decrease Russian presence in the post-Soviet space, including South Caucasus. We all know that Russian presence, first of all, means military presence. So if you want to decrease Russian presence in post-Soviet space and in South Caucasus in particular, you should decrease Russian military presence, which means that you should kick out Russians first from Nagorno-Karabakh, then from Armenia. So it's very clear why Americans are putting these artificial deadlines, because this deadline is completely artificial, and it's more like a Dayton-style agreement, when simply Americans forced in Dayton to sign agreements to finish the war in former Yugoslavia. So we all understand this, and Russia understands it, and of course Russia is not happy to be kicked out from South Caucasus, or at least Russia is not happy to see its peacekeepers and peacekeepers pushed out from Karabakh, its military base pushed out from Armenia, its border troops pushed out from Armenia. And Russia is not interested even to start discussion on this. So to stop this domino effect, what Russia needs? Russia needs to prevent this signature of peace agreement based on these artificial deadlines, either it's end of 2022 or early 2023. So what Russia did? Russia invited Pashinyan and Aliyev. They spent several hours face-to-face meetings, Putin, Pashinyan, then Putin, Aliyev, then another long hours discussion. Then Putin appeared and he said that, look, guys, unfortunately, Armenia and Azerbaijan couldn't agree on the preliminary prepared text of statement. Again, just statement, no peace agreement. Statement which has no legal force. And Putin said that Armenia and Azerbaijan were not able to agree even on a statement. And what does it mean? It doesn't mean that if Armenia and Azerbaijan on October 31 were not able to agree on statement, there is no way that within 60 days until December 31, 2022, Armenia and Azerbaijan will agree on legal peace agreement.
Yeah.
I mean, the main message of the meeting in Sochi was this, that, okay, guys, Armenia and Azerbaijan still has huge disagreements.
That's interesting.
That were able even to overcome it for the statement, which itself is nothing from legal point of view, just a statement.
So basically holding that meeting and just basically acknowledging that, hey, the sides cannot, are not even very close. It's basically underscoring the deficiencies in the US plan, specifically with that deadline.
I believe the main message was that, okay, the US plan cannot be realized because, okay, let's be frank. So if Aliyev and Pashinyan are not able to agree on a statement about Karabakh or bilateral relations, but in front of or together with Mr. Putin, and after 45 or 50 days, they are able to agree on an agreement on the same issues, Armenia-Azerbaijan relations, delimitation, Nagorno-Karabakh, in the presence of Charles Michel or President Biden or Jake Sullivan or Anthony Blinken. Okay, first, it sounds very unrealistic. Second, it means that the main obstacle was President Putin. Like, Pashinyan and Aliyev was ready to hug each other and agree on everything, but Putin said, no, guys, never agree on this. And immediately as Putin disappeared, and instead of Putin, Charles Michel, Blinken, Sullivan, or Biden appears, Pashinyan and Aliyev again become best friends. So this sounds very unrealistic.
Yeah.
And it sounds very artificial. So for me, the key reason why Russia organized this summit in Sochi, to send a clear signal to Americans and also to both Armenia and Azerbaijan. Let's look, guys, you are not able even to agree on statement because there are really significant disagreements. So let's forget about peace treaty. And by the way, after the meeting, President Putin held a press conference. And when asked about peace agreement, he said that we are far away from peace agreement. And the second most important thing, Mr. Putin said that peace agreements should be based on mutual compromises. But we all know that Azerbaijan now demands a document which fully satisfies all its demands and fully violates all Armenian national interests. So what Putin said that Armenia and Azerbaijan are far away from peace agreement. Let's forget about peace agreement. They are even far away from agreeing on statement for this summit. And sorry, second task. There was a statement that both sides agree not to use force or threat of force. And this is also very important because Russia understands that what is the main tool in the hands of Azerbaijan to force Armenia to sign peace agreement. And by the way, this tool also can be indirectly used by the US because Americans may tell Armenia, okay, dear Armenian government, if you're rejecting our offer to sign a peace agreement, then if Azerbaijan attacks, sorry, we can do
You're on your own.
Because you are on your own, because you are not constructive, etc., etc. So, I believe Putin probably forced Aliyev to add these two lines in the statement that sides agree not to use force or not to use threat of force. Of course, we may say that Aliyev may again use the force, but as far as I understand, by telling use the force, Russia does not mean shootings or even shootings by cannons. By not using the force, Russia understands large-scale military attack on Armenia with occupation of some large swaths of Armenian territory. So basically, Putin said to Armenia, okay, I fully understand that Azerbaijan tells you either sign an agreement or I will occupy part of Syunik region, I will occupy part of Vyodor region, I will with force open Zangezur corridor, either via Syunik or via Vyodor to connect Azerbaijan with Nakhichevan. Putin said to Armenia, I understand that Americans tell you that, okay, guys, if you're rejecting our plan of peace agreement, sorry, we are not able to deter or to prevent Azerbaijani large-scale attack. And Russia says that, okay, I cannot guarantee that Azerbaijanis will not shoot. I cannot guarantee that Azerbaijanis will not shoot from cannons, will not shoot from UAVs. And even I cannot guarantee that we'll take another 1 square kilometer somewhere in the mountains. But what I can't guarantee that Azerbaijan will not physically or forcefully open the Zangezur corridor, occupying part of Syunik or part of Vyodor region. So on the current circumstances, it will be very difficult for current Armenian government to justify why they are going to sign a peace treaty which violates vital Armenian national interest. Because we all know that in the recent months, there is a such debate in Armenia that we have two choices. Either we are losing Nagorno-Karabakh or we are losing Nagorno-Karabakh plus Syunik and probably even Nagorno-Karabakh plus Syunik plus Vyodor. So the conventional wisdom tells that, okay, let's lose Nagorno-Karabakh and keep Syunik and Vyodor. And everybody says that, okay, this is a real danger because President Aliyev on a daily basis tells that I will launch large-scale attack. I believe in yesterday's summit, Russia tries to send the message also to Azerbaijan that you may shoot, you may use drones, you may even occupy additional 2 or 3 square kilometers, but I'm not going to allow you to open by force the Zangezur corridor.
Basically, restart the war.
Yes, restart the large scale.
Yeah, that's an interesting interpretation, Benyamin. So, as we mentioned, there are a lot of things that were basically left out because of lack of agreement. But what was agreed upon is also worrying to me. The statement is heavy on territorial integrity and inviolability of borders, but there is no word on self-determination of people. As you talked, Benyamin, you also mentioned they sprinkled something about non-use of force. So they got 2 of the 3 sort of principles of the former Minsk group, but not self-determination. The statement, in my opinion, also put an equal sign between unsolved security issues and humanitarian issues. Just a reminder to everyone, our POWs are still in Baku, suffering every day. But the most important part, I think, that is that even the name Karabakh was avoided as a location, not as a political designation, but as a location of where the peacekeepers were placed. And they basically said the zone of the dislocation of the peacekeepers. So 2 questions arise. What about the status of Artsakh or Nagorno-Karabakh? And, if we're talking about territorial integrity, then does this mean that Azerbaijan deoccupies Armenian territories it has invaded since the 44-day war? Some estimates talk about 120 square kilometers, but some even go up to 200 and more square kilometers that Azerbaijan is occupying today.
These are separate issues. Regarding Nagorno-Karabakh, from Russian perspective, what is Nagorno-Karabakh now? At least after November 10, 2020. Nagorno-Karabakh, Russia perceives Nagorno-Karabakh as de jure part of Azerbaijan, de facto Russian-controlled territory. And as far as I understand, Russia is interested to keep the current status quo, which means that de jure for Russia, Nagorno-Karabakh is part of Azerbaijan. De facto, it's a Russian-controlled territory. We should understand that de jure and de facto are completely different things. I will give the example of Syria. After every Astana meetings, in Astana format, Turkey, Russia, Iran, we read statements. Turkey, Russia, Iran confirms their support to Syrian territorial integrity within internationally recognized Syrian borders after every trilateral Astana summit. But we all know that currently Turkey occupies and controls approximately up to 10,000 square kilometers of Syrian soil. And while every time Turkey signs that I recognize Syrian territorial integrity even more, I will protect and I will guarantee Syrian territorial integrity. But Turkey continues to occupy these 10,000 square kilometers, and no one, neither Russia or Iran, telling Turkey, okay, guys, you signed this statement, so take your troops and get out from these 10,000 square kilometers. So de jure accepting anyone's territorial integrity is one thing. De facto occupying or controlling part of the same country territory is totally another thing. So what Russia is interested in, yes, you will say, of course, Nagorno-Karabakh de jure is part of Azerbaijan because Russia has not recognized Karabakh independence and is not going to recognize it. But from Russian perspective, okay, yes, de jure, of course, Karabakh is Azerbaijan. De facto, these 3,000 square kilometers should be Russia-controlled territory. It's something the same as with Transnistria. De jure, Russia recognizes Transnistria as part of Moldova. De facto, Transnistria is Russian-controlled territory. It has nothing to do with Moldova. Let's go back to the situation in Abkhazia and South Ossetia, 1994-2008, before Russia-Georgia war. I can give you plenty of statements signed by Russia when Russia says that, yes, we recognize Georgian territorial integrity within its internationally recognized borders, including Abkhazia and South Ossetia. Of course, Abkhazia and South Ossetia are Georgia. But in reality, Georgian government has zero influence on Abkhazia. The Georgian government has zero influence on 60% of South Ossetia, which were controlled by Russia until August 2008. So from Russian perspective, is there a Karabakh in the statement? There is a no Karabakh war. There is Karabakh war. Russia does not care. If for President Aliyev, the absence of word Karabakh makes him happy and allow him to go back to Baku and say, okay, this was a great victory for Azerbaijan. Look, there is a no Karabakh in the statement. Russia will say, okay, no problem. Don't put the word Karabakh in statement. There will be no word of Karabakh in statement. What I want is that Karabakh should be under Russian control, or those part of former Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Oblast, which Azerbaijan failed to occupy during 2020 war. That Russian peacekeepers should be there, so the status quo should continue. This very volatile status quo, which emerged after November 10, 2020. And also I would like to emphasize the answer of President Putin when he was asked by the future of Russian peacekeepers during the press conference after October 31st Trilateral Sochi summit. When he was asked, Mr. President, what will be the future of Russian peacekeepers? He said, okay, if Armenia and Azerbaijan signs peace treaty, of course, we should look into the issue of Russian peacekeepers in Nagorno-Karabakh from another angle or through another lenses. But if Armenia and Azerbaijan fails to sign peace treaty, or if the peace treaty and border delimitation and demarcation covers only part of issues and not covers all the issues, then we should look into the issue of Russian peacekeepers through totally different lenses. So what Russia wants? Russia wants to keep the status quo which emerged after November 10, 2020, which means that for everyone, Nagorno-Karabakh de jure is Azerbaijan, but all understand that de facto Azerbaijan has zero control over these 3,000 square kilometers. This is controlled by Russia. Is it okay for Armenia? No. Is it ideal for Armenia? No, of course it's not ideal for Armenia. Ideal for Armenia, at least for Armenian people, that international community recognizes Nagorno-Karabakh independence, then through referendum, Nagorno-Karabakh becomes part of Armenia. This is the ideal solution. But
right,
what is better for Armenia? To have Nagorno-Karabakh de jure as part of Azerbaijan de facto as a Russian protectorate, or to have Nagorno-Karabakh de facto de jure part of Azerbaijan with zero Armenians? I believe answer is very clear.
Okay. So I want to move us to a final topic, which we just added, because in other news, as we turn our attention to Iran, only yesterday, IRNA reported that Pashinyan will be visiting Iran today, November 1st. We are recording this on November 1st. And he's going to meet with President of Iran, Raisi. And so that's really, really short notice, basically a day's notice that this very high level meeting is going to happen. On the Armenian side, Pashinyan said that he told Raisi what they talked about in Sochi. And Raisi, on his part, said that the meeting is a breakthrough for relations between the two countries and the whole region in general. Raisi also messaged that regional problems should be solved by regional players and not outsiders. Some analysts interpret this as a shot across the bow at the EU and potentially OSCE observer missions. One objective announcement from this meeting was that Iranian companies will take part in construction of the Kajaran Tunnel, part of the International North-South Transport Corridor, the INSTIC, basically. A couple of questions arise, Benyamin. Was this meeting planned, and what was the reason for Raisi's short notice invite to Pashinyan?
I believe definitely meeting was planned because it's very, very difficult to organize leaders' meetings within 24 or 48 hours. I would say it is even impossible. I'm not sure when the meeting started to be planned, but I believe that at least the meeting was discussed when Iranian foreign minister was here, I believe on October 20 or 21.
For the opening of the consulate.
Yes, and then went to Kapan, the center of Sunni region, and opened the consulate. Now, of course, to tell that this visit was or is a breakthrough for Armenian relations or even for whole South Caucasus, of course, this is a diplomatic language. I don't believe that there is any breakthroughs. Frankly speaking, even if I have doubts that Iranian companies 100% will participate in the construction of this Sisian-Kajaran road, because most probably this highway will be funded by EU money, and definitely European Union will demand an international tender. And I don't believe the EU will allow that somehow the Iranian companies which will participate in tender will receive more favor from Armenian government. So wait and see what's happening on this Sisian-Kajaran highway. We have international tender. Who is going to win international tender? It's absolutely another issue. Regarding Raisi's statement that foreign forces create more problems and solve no problem but create more. Yes, partly this could also be directed to this EU observer mission, but frankly speaking, I believe the main target audience for Iran's statement is not even Armenia, but this is Azerbaijan and is Israel, because there are significant information and discussions in quite solid Western media that, for example, these last two airports which Azerbaijan opened on the territories which it occupied in 2020 Karabakh War, Fizuli and Zangelan,
or Jiragan and
they are very close to Azerbaijan-Iran border. They are very close to Azerbaijan-Iran border. No one lives in this area, simply no one. And it's from conventional wisdom, it's really absurd. You are establishing two civilian airports in the territories where nobody lives. This is completely insane.
And they're within basically 2 hours of driving from each other.
Yeah, which means that the so-called civilian airports are simply cover up. And these airports, if not 100% military, these airports are for dual use. And because these airports are located very close to the current Azerbaijan-Iran border, most probably these airports, at least the military usage of these airports, will be directed against Iran. And this airport will be used, or maybe they are already used by Israeli military. And let's not forget that according to several Azerbaijani experts, even now, after 2020 war, and especially after September 13-14 Azerbaijani large-scale attack against Armenia, Azerbaijan experts are telling that almost on a daily basis, civilian cargo jets flying from Israel to Azerbaijan bringing modern Israeli weapons. And frankly speaking, I have great doubts that all these weapons are envisaged against Armenia. Most probably, part of these weapons will be used or are envisaged to be used against Iran. So Iran is very concerned, and all these large-scale drills along Azerbaijan, Iran, and Nakhichevan-Iran borders were a very clear statement that, okay, if we will see that the former territories of Nagorno-Karabakh Republic, which were occupied by Azerbaijan during 2024, if they are becoming really Israeli military platform to launch anti-Iranian activities, surveillance, reconnaissance, I don't know, drone strike, or etc., then this is a red line for Iran. Iran will not tolerate this, and probably in that case, Iran will militarily hit Azerbaijan. So from my perspective, it's much more probable Iranian attack against Azerbaijan to destroy Israeli military outposts in Azerbaijan than Iranian attack against Azerbaijan or Iranian troops entering Sunik to protect, I don't know, Armenia, or part of Goris from Azerbaijani attack.
Right. Benjamin, just to close this topic, I know you've previously been sort of pessimistic on this north-south corridor, especially like how quickly we can build it and whether there is enough funding and commitment for all of it. But has that opinion changed at all with these recent Iranian announcements?
Look, regarding north-south corridor, first of all, let's not mix two things. North-south highway inside Armenia and international north-south transport corridor.
Well, the Armenian portion of it. My question was specifically.
Yes, but even I'm not sure that I have great doubts that north-south highway inside Armenia will be part of this international north-south transport corridor. Why? Because international north-south transport corridor envisage transportation of goods from India to Russia and then to Northern Europe. India via Iran to Russia and then Northern Europe. Currently, 3 routes are being discussed. So-called Western route, it's by sea, Mumbai, Chabahar, Bandar Abbas, Persian Gulf, Iranian ports. Then Iran, Azerbaijan, Russia by land. This is so-called Western route. There is an Eastern route, again, from Mumbai to Bandar Abbas and Chabahar, Persian Gulf, Iranian ports by sea. Then Iran, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Russia. Again, by land, this is Eastern route. And there is a so-called middle route. Again, Mumbai, Bandar Abbas, Chabahar. Then from Bandar Abbas and Chabahar to the Enzeli, which is the Iranian port on Caspian Sea. From Enzeli to Astrakhan, which is Russian port on Caspian Sea. And then to Russia and then to Northern Europe. Now, we all know that Armenia has only one connection to Russia, and this is not railway, because unfortunately Abkhazian railway is closed. We are connecting Russia only through Upper Lars via Georgian territory, and we all know that during the winter there are huge problems with Upper Lars. So first, I'm not sure that this north-south highway inside Armenia will be part of international north-south transport corridor. It could be part of Persian Gulf Black Sea transport corridor, which will connect Iran to Europe via Armenia, Georgian Black Sea, Bulgaria, Greece, and then to Europe. But again, these are 2 different projects. International north-south transport corridor, Persian Gulf Black Sea intermodal transport corridors. But for this Persian Gulf Black Sea intermodal transport corridor to become operational, we need good infrastructure connecting Armenia with Iran. We all know that there is no railway, and even there is no plan to construct Armenia-Iran railway. Regarding highways, the main highway, the original highway, Goris-Kapan, is under Azerbaijani control or closed since November 2021. We constructed alternative Goris-Kapan route, which is absolutely unfit for large-scale international transit. So if we will construct new Sisian, Kajaran, Megri highways through several tunnels, again, this is not about only Sisian to Kajaran. You need to construct new highway from Sisian to Kajaran and also from Sisian to Megri. And you need to construct several tunnels, several of them up to 8 or 9 kilometers of length. Okay, theoretically, Armenia may start the construction of Sisian-Kajaran section in 2023, which will be finished in 2029. But this is only about the section from Sisyan to Kajaran. When will be finished the section from Kajaran to Merli, nobody knows. But one thing is clear: until there is this new Sisyan Kajaran Merli highway, Armenia cannot be even part of this Persian Gulf Black Sea international intermodal transport corridor, because the current alternative Goris-Kapan highway is absolutely unfit for any international transportation. So in the best case scenario, if miracle happens, and in 2023, Armenia not only starts Sisyan-Kajaran new highway, but also Kajaran-Merli highway, these two highways will be finished as the best or very best or fantastically best scenario. These two highways will be finished no sooner than 2030, 2030, which means that Armenia can be part of this Persian Gulf Black Sea corridor, not international north-south transport corridor, but Persian Gulf Black Sea corridor only after 2030. The only other option which will allow Armenia to be part of Persian Gulf Black Sea corridor sooner than 2030 is to open a railway connection between Armenia and Iran via Nakhchivan. Because in that case, Iranian goods can be put onto railways, they can directly enter Nakhchivan, then Yerevan, and then reach Poti and Batumi. Because Yerevan has railway connection with Poti and Batumi, Yerevan has railway connection with Yerazk on Nakhchivan border, and Iran has railway connection with Nakhchivan. But to open a railway connection via Nakhchivan, Armenia, Nakhchivan, Iran, we need to come to agreement with Azerbaijan. But as far as Azerbaijan says any base of agreement to say goodbye to Nagorno-Karabakh, I don't think that this is going to happen, which means that there is a few chances that Armenia, Nakhchivan, Iran railway will be opened. So we have to wait on the fantastically best case scenario until 2030 to have this Sisyan Kajaran Merli new highway to become part of Persian Gulf Black Sea intermodal transport corridor.
Okay, we're going to wrap up our topics here. So I'd like to ask each of you if there's been something on your mind this past week that you want to talk about. Benyamin, do you have anything you want to talk about?
No, I believe we covered everything. Of course, there are a lot of other problems in Armenia, starting from public transportation and ending with other things. But I believe that geopolitics is too consuming. And when we are discussing the issues of existence of Armenian state or non-state, maybe the public transportation will go a little bit further.
Maybe we can leave that for the next time we're talking.
Yeah.
Hovik, what's on your mind?
Just very quickly, we often hear the statement that, if only we can give away Artsakh or give away Sunik, if only we can achieve peace, then we will, we can afford to live. My appeal is basically to those who say that Armenia should just sign away Artsakh and even give Azerbaijan a corridor to Sunik for so-called peace. Since November 9, 2020, Azerbaijan has been periodically raising the question of reparations for Armenia's so-called exploitation of Artsakh territories and so-called allegations of expropriation of their citizens. And last week, while opening yet another airport in Kovsakan or Zangilan, as we talked about, even Erdogan joined Aliyev in this cause. Aliyev has mentioned a specific amount, $50 billion. That amounts basically to 5 times Armenia's GDP and translates to about $20,000 per capita in Armenia. It's unfathomable to me, but to those who would put the issue of peace in monetary terms, are you ready to pay $20,000 per person in reparations to Azerbaijan? And do you, for 1 second, have any doubt that even if a peace agreement is signed, that Azerbaijan will not pursue continuous pressuring of Armenia, including in the legal department and in these so-called sort of reparations, especially if Armenia signs a statement or an agreement or a peace deal that makes it look like that, our war was for naught. We didn't fight essentially for self-determination like we claimed all these years, and it was just all about territorial integrity. If you believe that, then I have a bridge for you in Brooklyn to sell, but that's all I have to say.
All right, we're going to leave it there today. Thank you, Benyamin. Appreciate your taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Benyamin.
That's our show this week. We hope you found it informative. Now go find us on social media and follow us. We'll talk to you next week.